All right, Ev, let's do something fun. Let's talk about the performance of the pitching staff since the 1st of August, how they did it, how they applied strategy to it, and, give us some of the numbers and some of the ways they crafted this strategy to try to overcome the fact that they basically had 2 starters.
Yeah, only 2 traditional starters in Tarek Skubal and Keider Montero for pretty much the entire month of August, while the team had a 17-11 record in 28 games in August. So it was a winning month for the Tigers, only doing it with 2 traditional starters. They did it because they had bulk relievers in Kenta Maeda, Brant Herter, and Brian Sammons. Brian Sammons has since been optioned to AAA Toledo, but now Ty Madden is kind of filling that role. So you have Kenta Maeda, Brant Herter, and Ty Madden right now being used as bulk relievers, while the Tigers have traditional starters in Tarek Skubal and Keider Montero, as well as Casey Mize, who just recently returned from the injured list. So it's been a mix of traditional starters and bulk relievers. Kenta Maeda is a starter. Brant Herter is a starter. Brian Sammons is a starter. Ty Madden is a starter. Like, they are all starters. They had been in AAA Toledo. Kenta Maeda, obviously, throughout his entire career, has been a starter. But the Tigers, using a strategy built by Scott Harris and AJ Hinch to go with openers. And they're using Bo Brisky and Tyler Holton, guys like that, as openers, and then handing things over to Kenta Maeda, Brant Herter, Brian Sammons, and Ty Madden, giving them optimal runway into their starts. Brant Herter is a left-handed pitcher. Perfect example. The Tigers would not want Brant Herter starting a game and allowing the other team to stack their lineup with right-handed hitters. Brant Herter struggles against right-handed hitters. But by using an opener, the Tigers then can choose when they want Brant Herter to enter the game and eat up his 4, 5, 6 innings, and they could bring him in against a 2 of 3 stretch of left-handed hitters because Brant Herter thrives against left-handed hitters. So it's a strategy that Scott Harris and AJ Hinch have come up with to combat the fact that they only have 2 starting pitchers in Skubal and Montero in August. Now Casey Mize has joined the fold, but there still is some bulk reliever happening, and it's worked for the Tigers. They're 2nd in ERA, 3rd in FIP, 3rd in opponent batting average, 18th in strikeout rate, 8th in walk rate, 3rd in whip, 2nd in barrel rate in August. Those are the marks in the month of August. 2nd in ERA, 3rd in FIP, 3rd in opponent batting average, 3rd in whip. They're not allowing teams to get the barrel of the bat on the ball. It's been incredible. I think we got to go to AJ Hinch, though, because he talked about this, and it was really impressive. We got to dig into that because he's the mastermind behind all this with Scott Harris, and he had a great explanation for exactly what the Tigers are doing and why it worked.
There's value in winning. Like, to me, the winning is gonna supersede any notion of what it feels like to start the game versus pitch innings 3 through 8 or 9. Like, the winning is really what we're about here, and of course we'd like to do both. I mean, if that's what it takes. But I like that they can't stack the lineup against Herter. When we played against the Cubs, like, they had 3 or 4 left-handed hitters in the lineup. Once I announce that he starts, see how many left-handed hitters are in the lineup. So part of our job is to put guys in a position to be successful and pitch them when they can get the most outs. It's not going to be forever, but it's been effective, and it's why we continue to stick with it in the matchups in which we've had the last couple of weeks.
And then AJ Hinch was asked about Dylan Dingler, a young catcher. How does he manage all these bullpen games? That's what he was asked. AJ Hinch was asked about the bullpen games. Here's what he said to that.
Well, it's not a bullpen game whenever somebody is taken down 5 or 6 innings in that bullpen, right? It's just basically when you bring in Herter or Maeda or Sammons, who are the 3 guys that have pitched the bulk of these innings coming out of the pen, I get to choose who the leadoff hitter is, not the other manager. So when I bring him in, Dylan or Raj knows, probably in there for a while, at least 2 times through, maybe a 3rd time, depending on where I can set the leadoff hitter. That in itself is not any more taxing than is if the guy starts. I think what's more taxing is let somebody stack a lineup against a pitcher, and you have to work your way through that lineup multiple times. So, for Dylan in particular, it's been probably good for him that Sammons is here, that Herter is here, the guys that he caught routinely in AAA. That's helped his transition to the big leagues as much as anything.
So that's manager AJ Hinch talking about the openers and the bulk relievers. Mark, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, first of all, you want to criticize Dylan Dingler for going 3 for 34, and I see something totally different. I see the fact that the last 6 games he's caught, all wins. I see that I haven't thought about Carson Kelly for 1 minute since Dylan Dingler's been here. His throwing is terrific. His game calling is great. And they're winning when he catches. Am I worried if he's going to hit or not? Heck no. And guess what? Every single time Dylan Dingler has been promoted a level in the minor leagues, it took him a while to start hitting. And eventually, he started hitting. So for those of you that are worried that he's 3 for 34, last thing on my mind. But let's get into the pitching stuff. Look, for 2 years, I've done nothing but sort of bash the courage of Scott Harris. And guess what? Somebody star this podcast, because today on this podcast, on the 2nd of September, I'm going to throw the bouquet of roses to Scott Harris. Because you know why? Here's why. Scott Harris is a great data analyst. It's what he did for the first 5 years he was with the Cubs. It's how he got on the map with Theo Epstein. Scott Harris understands how to be a quant. And what he did was, when they were confronted with this particular issue of no starting pitching depth, he had a meeting with AJ Hinch. He had a lunch meeting, and they discussed it on Tigers Live the other day. And what transpired out of that meeting was using an opener, trying to optimize the hitters that Salmons and Madden and Herter would face, okay, and try to make the lineup be to their advantage. They understood their strengths. They understood their shortcomings. And at the same time, got to throw a bouquet to all those guys, because at least they've done what was expected of them so you could execute the strategy. Kenta Maeda also. The less Kenta Maeda, the better. Okay. But what you've got is Brand Herter, who couldn't get a right-hand hitter out if it was a stacked lineup of right-hand hitters, no chance. Where he struggled in the first inning in Toledo, he never throws the first inning. And when he finally threw the first inning the other day, it wasn't great. Okay. So what they've done is they've turned it over to the puppet master, understanding exactly when to insert these 3 or 4 minor league arms, how to insert them, rarely see the lineup a third time, and it's been poetic. They have optimized every one of them and ended up with one of their best pitching months of the AJ Hinch tenure of 4 years. But that was Scott Harris's idea. He took that to AJ. They then strategically decided how to deploy these guys, and they've done a masterful job of making the best out of a terrible situation. It's not something any other team in baseball could have done that simply. So to Scott Harris, great job.